Well, hello and welcome.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us again at
Yeah.
Behind the Scenes with Santa,
Santa and Mrs. Claus.
So,
It's so good to see you again.
always happy to have
Yeah.
you join us on,
Yeah.
on another one of our little adventures that we did.
Yeah.
So, and we got
this
this
is a very unusual episode today. It is one of those things that you kind of almost a once in a lifetime event.
and
that we got.
historical,
Historical.
if you will. I mean, certainly,
Yeah, very
you
historical.
very historical. I mean,
Yeah.
we were in a place where history was made.
Yes, it was.
And I mean,
yeah.
quite interesting history at the time. So, and we're happy to share what we were doing there and what we did. And
Yes.
it-
Yeah.
Again, it was one of those one of a lifetime experiences.
Yeah, and you were actually approached to do an advertising
A photo shoot,
photo
yeah.
shoot
Mhm.
for
an ad
Yes.
for a
a large nursery in Newport
in
Beach.
Newport Beach, yeah. So, and actually, I wound up doing several for them.
Yes, you did. Yeah.
But there was one in particular that stays in our minds
Yes.
continuously. We were actually invited to the Western White House of Richard Nixon's.
Of Richard Nixon. Yes.
Now, he did not own it at this point
No,
in time. He had
no.
sold it, and he and Pat had moved off.
Yes,
But
yes.
nonetheless, La Casa Pacifica is
Yes,
the name of
yes.
it. And it was in San Clemente, where Nixon resided for a long period of time.
He did, and
had
it
several
was and it was
historical
coined
figures there. Yeah.
the Western White House because he used to actually go there quite often, and when he left the White House, that's generally where he and his family would go.
Yes.
Was
And
Casa
where he
Pacifica.
retired to.
Yeah,
you know.
and so and it's as Joe said, it is in San Clemente where we lived for several years, although we never saw it or drove by it. Or,
Well, you couldn't get to it.
No.
I mean,
we didn't even really know where it was.
needless to say,
It
the
was
driveway alone was a very long, involved drive.
Yeah. So the photographer informed us that that they wanted to do a photo shoot not in the main home. This was actually a compound. It's a huge. When you get there, it's huge.
Enormous.
And they actually had a building that was like a rotunda, and then kind of some more attached to it, but a huge rotunda where they said they had a big tree.
You'll be able to see pictures of this,
Yes.
not with us in it, except for, well, I guess there's a couple of the
We
of
have
the
a
photo shoot.
a couple. Yeah.
I look like a midget of a midget next to the tree I was standing, and I don't know if I couldn't believe it. It's like I disappeared, but anyway. But the rotunda itself, we do have pictures of the rotunda
Yes, when it was
occupied.
yes.
So,
yes.
and we will post that to thenorthpolepress.com, and feel free to look at our gallery there,
Yeah.
and you'll
Yeah.
see those pictures. And eventually, Mrs. Claus is going to be putting up a whole bunch more, aren't you?
I'm just getting that gallery put together now, but
Not
anyway.
that we don't have a lot of pictures, folks.
No,
believe me, we
no,
have more than
no.
you could ever want to look at, but we are going to put some of our more favorite pictures up there. But anyway, so we were in this rotunda, and
Well, I should say just a little kind of history thing.
yeah.
One of the reasons, and it really was a treat for us because this home and estate is not open to the public. Was not open at the time we were there. As far as I know, is still not open to the public. So It's not something that was Richard Nixon's library where
No,
you could
no.
in Yorba
No,
Linda,
yeah.
where you could see any
No.
of his stuff. So it was really a treat to know that this is where a president of the United States lived. They pointed out where the Secret Service stayed in some of the cabins,
Multiple
I guess
heads
you would
of
say,
state
yeah. And
had
multiple
been
heads
there.
of state.
I mean,
and
many actually, as well as B.B. Rebozo, his best, one of his close friends.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
I mean, just Henry Kissinger was there. I mean, yeah, just lots of names
and
from history, but
yes,
one
yes.
in particular, and it had some wonderful pictures of Nixon and this gentleman around the rotunda that we were able to look at while we were waiting for them to set up for the photo shoot and stuff. And why don't you tell them who it was?
Well, in 1973, the Leonid Brezhnev from Russia, our Soviet Union, the chairman of the Soviet Union, came over to the United States for what they call the Summit 2 talks, which is kind of like a precursor to that. No treaties were signed, but they just discussed how they might bring the two major countries a little bit closer for the arms race and those kinds of things. And they started out actually meeting in the White House itself, in Camp David, and then they finished. He finished the tour in
kind
San
of a
Clemente.
mini vacation, if you will,
in San Clemente.
Yeah.
So they had there is a picture which I found on the internet where it has President Nixon and Chairman Brezhnev sitting at a desk at Casa Romanica. And when we were there, I guess we should also say the gentleman at that time who owned it actually was a friend of Richard Nixon. I believe he bought it from him personally.
Yeah.
And so he had this desk in, not in the rotunda itself, but was like a little room over to the side. And that's what the desk was. And they had all these pictures. And so it was.
And that's where they had sat and discussed some things.
Yeah.
It really did lay the groundwork for a
did.
much closer peace, not only between the U.S. and Russia, but across the world.
Yes, that is true.
Because
that
that
is true.
laid the groundwork for so many other countries to say, okay, if you guys are backing down, we should back down.
We can
a
back
little.
down too. So it was really an important meeting, certainly. So for us to be able to be at that same location was truly,
and actually be photographed there,
and yeah,
not just visiting, but
it was
I was
really
a model.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So anyway, you want to take a quick break, and then we'll come back and talk about the photo shoot itself.
Yeah, why don't we
that?
do that? Just a real quick break to remind you that we have lots of wonderful items.
Yes.
For, Christmas and all through the year.
Yes.
So, I mean, the way we look at it is every day is Christmas.
Well, it is, and we have some wonderful things for the family. So take a quick look and see what we have.
Are you looking for fun for the whole family? Well, then come visit me at my new Etsy shop, Santa's Magic Chest, where you'll find all kinds of fun things, and every day is Christmas.
Welcome back.
That was short, so just a gentle reminder. But yeah, so here I was in this rotunda and getting photographed. I mean, the balls on this tree that they hung were like the size of basketballs.
Huge,
I mean, they
huge.
were just massive.
Yeah.
In fact, one broke when we were there.
Oh,
Remember?
that's right. Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
Not by me.
No.
It just fell off the tree.
It fell off the tree. But you should say how high or huge.
That tree
was certainly the biggest I've ever been close
Yeah,
to.
had to be 25 feet if it was a foot.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
it was just, I just kept looking up and up and up. And when you see the pictures, you're going to, I mean, I'm not 6 feet. I'm a little shorter than that. However, I look like an insect next to this massive tree. And not only was it 25 feet tall, but it was about, oh God, 10, 15 feet
I would say
wide.
15,
it was
at least 15 feet wide. It's kind of funny because up to that point, we obviously had done a lot of home visits and such like that, where more often than not, where we'd sit next to a tree and maybe the fireplace, but it all is in a perspective, and Santa's kind of the major thing there.
Central figure.
And
yeah, sure.
I actually was seating a fair distance away. I could see everything. But I will say that is true. He looked so small next to that tree. And it was like, it was like, I don't know how you can... Well, the photographer could make him appear.
Yeah. I mean, when you see these, you'll probably laugh going, are you sure that's him?
Yeah.
Because I look so small in
yes,
the thing. But,
yes.
Something you got to understand. I mean, the house itself, just the house itself, not the rotunda and all the other different buildings attached to it. Just the house itself is over 9,000 square feet.
Yeah.
So if that gives you an idea, I mean, how massive this complex is.
Well, and the rotunda itself, that must have been at least a couple thousand square feet, because it was well, and obviously as we're describing it, it was not only wide around, but the ceiling that's of course why they.
And when you see the roof with all the beams and everything, and then it had little.
Really was beautiful.
What do you call that on the top? A little portico or the.
Rosettes. I think they had rosettes, didn't they, or something like that. I don't know.
Anyway, but the point is, when you see it, it's going to be like, oh, yeah, it looks like a good-sized room. I could live there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I could have lived in just that outbuilding there, because we were not in the main house at all.
So again, this was one of our California stories, and one that's near and dear to our hearts. But yes, it was a joy to actually visit
something
the
like
Western
that.
White House of the United States. That
it was
such a historical.
Yeah, it was obviously quite a few years later when we were there. Yeah. But yeah, it was really, again, one of those things that we didn't expect when we got contacted to do this. We had no idea that's where the owner lived. It was a surprise to us. We went, where are we going again?
La Casa Pacifica. Why does that sound familiar to me? Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's just one of those little things that, we were blessed to do as Santa and Mrs. Claus. Yeah. And may never come again or nothing like it, but
it's one of those once in a lifetime.
And we have a lot more stories like this, so keep coming back, because you're going to hear a lot of different unusual tales like this, and we hope you enjoy every one of them. And by all means, if you have any questions about it, please ask us. Visit our North Pole Press website. Yes. The North Pole Press.
North Pole Press website.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we'll be happy to answer anything that you have or comment on it. So, well, I think that's enough of that for today.
Too. And
so this is a short one, but it was a fun one, and I wanted to make sure we got this in. So anyway, so enjoy the pictures, enjoy the website, and again, come back and visit us. In a couple of weeks, we'll have a new
and again, let us just say it is our podcasts are the 10th and the 24th.
Yeah.
So make sure you visit us.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. Have a blessed week. Bye-bye now.